Hello, welcome to American Baker in Germany. I'm Michelle, and today we are making probably the single most epic cake I've ever made in my entire life. I'm really quite excited about it. So this was a commission from a friend of mine who wanted a birthday cake this year for her daughter's birthday. Even though they can't have a big party, they still wanted a really nice cake. So the cake isn't huge, but they wanted basically every possible Disney character that I could fit on it. So I spent a lot of time on it, and I'm super proud of what it came out. I call this a Disney Montage cake. So let's get started.
No, I'm not making a cake dummy, but I did use one to get the right size for the toppers. Here I'm using a piece of gum paste to model a shoe. I cut out the middle and smooth it. I added a small heel. And I cut out a tiny heart and glue it on the toe of the shoe. Then I painted edible glue on the shoe and put pearl luster dust on it with a dry paintbrush. It had a lovely shimmer. Next, I made an apple. I pressed a point into the top and placed some indents around the bottom. Then I made a thin stem and placed it in the dimple. I also cut a small piece off the side and placed some white ragged fondant on it to look like a bite was missing from the apple. Next, I made a disc of dark green fondant and using a pointed sculpting tool, scratched a swirl through the middle. Then I painted the grooves with dark green food coloring. Then I rolled out some red fondant and cut out a bunch of small circles. And I made them into a rose. If you need a tutorial on how to make a fondant rose, click the link in the card. I also made a long stem and a couple of leaves with green fondant. Then I made a Sleeping Beauty figurine out of fondant. I'm going through this really quick because I have this as a separate tutorial. I have several tutorials of figurines and figures from this video, some of which will come out after the video, so I will link them all in the description box as they come out. Then I made an Elsa figurine. Same here, tutorial to follow. Next, I made a 2D figure of Simba. Once again, tutorial to follow. Then I made a 2D figure of Tarzan as a child. Again, tutorial to follow. This is the last one, I promise. Now we're finally at cake. I cut the edges off 2 8-inch layers of chocolate chip cake. I placed it slightly off center on the cake board. I filled the cake with Swiss meringue buttercream and placed more chocolate chips inside the cake. Then I crumb coated the cake. Chilled it for several minutes, and frosted it again with lots of Swiss meringue buttercream. Now I thought long and hard how I wanted to cover this cake. I originally thought of making sections of different colored fondant, but eventually decided to make marbled fondant instead. I settled on blue, green, yellow, and white. The colors are for the majority of the movies featured on this cake. The white just to keep it from getting too dark. I laid the marbled fondant onto the cake and smoothed it on with my hands and the fondant smoother, and cut off the excess with a knife. I know it cracked at the edges, but I have a few ideas on how to cover it. I rolled out some white fondant and used my Disney alphabet cutter to spell the birthday girl's name, Romy, as well as her age, 4. I placed the name on the side and the age in the middle. I used a fondant press mold to make a mermaid tail out of green fondant and placed it on the side of the cake at a place that had lots of blue. Then I used another fondant press mold to make some white seashells and placed them near the mermaid tail. I also placed them around the green swirled disc. Then I placed the 2 figurines on the cake board next to the name, and the 2 figures on top of the cake where they had plenty of room to be seen. Then I used my clay extruder to extrude some long lengths of yellow fondant. I took 3 of them and braided them together. At one point the lengths of yellow broke and I had to make 2 of them to get the length I wanted. I used the braid to cover the cracks at the edge of the cake. Then I rolled out some purple fondant and cut out some tiny flowers with the plunger cutter. I placed the purple flowers on the yellow braid. Then I rolled a few pointed sausages and pressed them together to make a sash. I placed the rose on top of it. Then I rolled out some dark blue fondant, cut out a few wedges, and pressed some red into them. I cut it in a rounder form and glued it onto the side of the cake, and I placed the apple nearby. Finally, I placed the shoe behind Sleeping Beauty. Obviously, I am super proud of this cake. Amazing, gorgeous, yes, I love it. But I have a challenge for you. I featured a total of 10 Disney films on this cake. How many can you name? Did you see all 10? Let me know in the comments below. For more cakes and tutorials, visit our website at AmericanBakerInGermany.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe for a new cake every week. Hit the notification bell to be the first to know when we upload a new video.